We go. What up? What
Damn,
up? What up? What up?
what's
Hey,
good, man?
how you doing? Listen, happy New Year's, everyone out there. You know, what I mean, the people. It's been a while. Uh, we right back at it with you. You know what I'm saying? It's been a long time. You know, you
Yeah,
know the rest. Timberland said it best. Um,
shouldn't have left you. You know what I'm saying? Look, man, I know I was gone on hiatus. Mark held it down while I was gone for a little bit. Life happens, holidays happen. Holidays happen on Tuesdays. You know what I'm saying? Look, I'm just glad to be back.
yeah, King. What up? What up? What
Happy
up?
New Year, man. Happy New Year.
Listen, man, we got an episode for you guys. I don't know how great it's going to be honest, but we got an episode where we just going to have some conversations because there is a lot to talk about. There is, man, there is the lawsuits at FS1, the NFL playoff picture.
Was
There's
you about to
just,
say joy suits? What was you about to
yeah,
say?
you
You
know what I
said
mean.
joy. Look, no, we'll talk about it.
There there's there's Tank Davis who may have sugar in his tank according to his new hairstyle maybe, you know what I mean? Like I don't know. Like there's a lot going on, man. You tell me, man. Like what do you
I,
guys want to talk
what,
about today? A lot of firings today in the NFL. Uh Black Black Tuesday.
Black
Uh
Monday, Tuesday, whatever you
you
want to
know what I
call it
mean?
right now.
Whatever you
I'm
want to
starting.
call it, it's
I'm
black.
starting to question why they call it black. I'm starting to question.
I could tell you
Look,
why it's black because it's only the black coaches getting fired.
this shit is crazy, boy. This is crazy, man. But we will get into it. We will
Yeah,
get into it.
you know what I'm saying. So anyway, Sean, is there anything in particular you want to talk about today before we go ahead and get started?
Um, to be honest with you, I wish I had more to talk about, but seeing as though my Niners are not in the playoffs, you know what I'm saying? I don't really have much to talk about since there's no chance that we're going to get Robert Sala back as a defensive coordinator. There's nothing for us to talk about, for me to talk about. Seeing as though the only thing that we've done so far since the offseason is hit is fire our special teams coordinator. There's nothing for me to talk about, Mark. So I wish I had more, but I got nothing. So
Yeah,
I do want to get into the FS1 stuff. You know, it's going to be a very entertaining topic. But yes, NFL playoffs is more excited than anything else. But I don't know, man. The FS1 drama is actually trying to give them a run for their money.
yeah, man, it's
Joy
definitely.
Taylor showed up to work looking like an elementary school teacher. She was
Hey man, Joy Taylor,
crazy.
Joy Taylor showed up to work. She showed up to work buttoned up. She looked like uh she looked like she was in her BDUs trying to hide the yams. Like dog.
She showed up looking like Alice in Wonderland, bro. I don't I don't know what was going on. She had the little poofy shoulder, little dress or shirt on with I guess that was see through. That's the only thing that was see through today was just the sleeves. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know what happened, man. I feel like maybe it's just me, but she was dressed differently. But yeah, dressed differently since the allegations came up. But I might not know anything, so. Oh, he said, King Mike said, hey, let me know. He said, enlighten me what happened with the FS1 situation.
All right, so all
Whew, you
right,
want to jump right into the FS1 shit?
all right, King Mike. I mean, we'll start there. We'll start there. Listen, so King Mike with FS1, there is a recent lawsuit that happened. There's like a 48-page lawsuit. I have not read the whole thing. I have not read any of it. Honestly, I just been watching because the ADD kicks in, and so I just watch and listen for what's going on in it. But here's the major takeaways from the lawsuit. Skip Bayless is being sued for allegedly trying to hire the FS1 hairstylist to be his concubine. Um,
Yes.
So, like I said, that's alleged, and also stated in the suit. I'm still not quite sure why Joy Taylor is named in the suit, but I guess Joy
Oh,
Taylor is named in the suit because she was alerted to this to the stuff that was happening, and basically she told the woman uh to wipe it under the rug, and she was basic and the woman was also alleging that Joy Taylor is also part of the problem there because Joy Taylor uses her feminine wiles to get herself ahead within FS1 by sleeping with allegedly sleeping with Charlie Dixon, who is the executive producer of most of the shows at FS1, and Emmanuel Acho, who at the time was at the time of them sleeping together or whatever, he was the co-host to Marcellus Wiley at Speak, and then you know she obviously was on Speak with Emmanuel Acho, and now she does Speak simply by herself. So yeah.
yeah, yeah. I want to be, and I want to be very clear about this.
Hey man,
Uh,
if Joy,
yeah,
if I'm gonna tell you right now, John, if Joy, if Joy needed a job, I'll swerve and hit the corner. Whoa.
hey. First, first off, shout out to Leangelo Ball. You know what I'm saying? Hey, shout out to Leangelo Ball. Fucking with that song, man. People making fun of it. I like it. But real, real quick, man. Um, the Joy Taylor thing. I want to be specific. I know you were talking about how it relates to everything. If somebody is trying to bring up how, hey, man, I got people basically that are um, in control of my career to some degree because yes, she was an FS1 stylist, but at some point, Skip Bayless hired her to specifically be his stylist for Undisputed. So she got promoted in a sense by him to be his personal stylist for Undisputed. So, and then she didn't know that that also came with him trying to solicit, you know, sexual favors from her. So, yes, now when she goes to bring it up to Joy, Joy's like, she's like, hey, man, they're doing weird stuff out here, man. Like, I see you kind of dressing a certain way and kind of using your looks to get around. Like, you got to be careful with that. And Joy's like, careful? Like, I got the power here. I'm in charge. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm getting everything I want. So the reason why Joy is brought up in this is because the one person that she thought that she could go to to kind of vent or to try to get on her side is 1,000% complicit in everything that's happening. So now it's like, well, I'm gonna out not just the males that are trying to solicit from me, but I am going to out other situations where sexual favors are being offered in
Mm-hmm.
order for the other people to progress. Because now I'm sitting here, I'm not trying to get on that program, but everybody else is doing it, so I'm stuck here, and I gotta be beholden to Skip Bayless, who has my career in their hands, you know, and he's off, regardless of him offering money or whatever. You know what? Let's get into that, Mark. Let's get into the actual good stuff. 1.5 million, Mark. So I'm gonna be full disclosure. Me and my wife had this conversation, man. Two things stood out to me. Him saying them saying he offered 1.5 million. I'm This is just my personal opinion. I'm not accusing anybody. I'm not victim blaming. All I'm saying is this: 1.5 million. I don't think he offered her 1.5 million. What I think happened is he came at her. He did say I could make you into something. I'm sure he offered her, hey, look, I can make you somebody within FS1. That I believe. But the 1.5 million, I don't think that came into play
Mm-hmm.
until he realized, hey man, she might say something. That's where I think the one, because people are like 1.5 million, Skip, you bugging. I think the 1.5 million comes into play once his advances are being turned down. Now it's You could take. I still want to get what I want. I'm offering you 1.5, but really the 1.5 is for you to keep your mouth shut. You know what I'm saying? In her saying she turned down 1.5, I think you could. I think saying no in still keeping it on the table is different than just saying he offered me 1.5 million for sexual favors and then I told him no. Totally different than I think it's more nuanced than that. But that's number one. Number two, I'm gonna be 1,000% real here, Mark. In and I'm not saying this is me because we've been in the military, Mark, and we've seen this before a million times over. It disgusts us when we seen it. Matter of
Yeah.
fact, we was mad when you got people that don't deserve nothing walking around acting like they deserve everything or talking to people that they shouldn't be talking to a certain way and everything's going just, just being allowed. And then when you do something right, you're not even doing something wrong. You do something right, and now you're being punished for it. Like we've been through this, but this is a very plausible situation. I believe what's being said here. I believe what's being said about Joy. I believe these things because I've seen it happen. In knowing my male counterparts, that executive Mark is not the only person that would have been willing to do things that they're being accused of, i.e., allowing her to use her sexuality for in exchange for promotions. It's not it's not an unheard of thing. Joy looks like Joy. It's not unfathomable. He said the peanut butter. That's another thing I wanted to bring up, Mark. Let's talk about this. I'm
Hey,
gonna let you
hey,
lead this
you
one,
gotta
man.
you gotta finish your statement first, though.
Oh no, but yes, it's not unfathomable. Okay, this is very plausible. If somebody like Joy decides they're going to use their looks to get ahead, it's more than likely going to work. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
now, but with to close this with all the seriousness first before we get into Jason Whitlock. Um, the woman here that is filing the lawsuit is not just a lawsuit on behalf of her, it's a class action lawsuit, which means there's other parties involved. So she is not the only person that experienced these things. There are other people that work for Fox Sports that experience these things, and they're all probably you're going to hear more about the other parties involved, or they might not even be named, but just understand it's a class action lawsuit, which means there's other people involved. So this is not something that is going to get swept under the rug. It's not a situation even like the Diddy situation. This is when you have multiple people. This is going to be more closer to the Bill Cosby situation. So I'm curious to see how this all plays out.
Yeah.
Y'all wilding in the comments. I'm gonna let y'all know right now. Y'all, hey, the peanut butter skin. Hey, those are really good quotes. Those are really good quotes.
Hey,
I,
man.
and I know
Hey,
where the quotes come from, so that's why I want to make sure people know. John just ain't here out here wilding. Everything that he said so far has been a quote from somewhere. Okay.
yo, listen. Listen, to just to bring up what John here is saying for you guys, Jason Whitlock was talking about this Joy Taylor situation, and and he was like, "Yo, I want." He's like, "I stayed away from her." He's like, "I stayed away from her because he is like that big rack and that peanut butter. He's like, and
The
that
peanut
peanut
butter
butter
skin.
skin. He's like, you know what I would do to that. And
He said I know what I'm capable of.
yeah, I know what I'm capable of, and you know what I'll do to that, or something like that. And dog, I don't know if any of y'all ever looked at Jason Whitlock, but I don't think he's capable of more than two strokes without having to use his inhaler. So I think he needs to relax. Like, dog, Jason.
That has to be my favorite thing that has come out of this whole thing so far. That's my favorite quote. Big rack peanut butter skin. I know what I'm capable of. Like
Like
Who does he think he is, Mark?
you capable of a heart attack, my boy? Like you like at no point in your at no point in your journalistic career have you been a fit man, a a someone that the world would consider a good looking man. Like, dog, I promise you, there's not a doctor in this world that would prescribe him the spark pill. I promise you that.
Not unless they don't care about him.
I promise you, there's not a doctor in
No,
this
nigga,
world
somebody got
that
beef
will
with you,
prescribe
baby.
him the spark
No,
pill. They be like, heart condition, oh, okay, you're immediately out of this
bro.
running. Blood pressure, immediately out of this running.
Jason Whitlock saying what he said, bro. Like, I stayed away from her because I know what I'm capable of. Simping, splurging, making it rain. What are you capable of, Jason Whitlock? What do you think would have happened, okay, if you was around her? Because whatever you think would have happened, that's not what would have happened, bro. You would have been in a whole nother lawsuit coming from Joy
Hmm.
about sexual harassment. That's where you would have been, okay? Because we all know how it works. You know what I'm saying? If they don't find you attractive, it's sexual harassment, okay? It's not you didn't just make a pass at her, okay? You're harassing her now because you're ugly. You know, that's how it works here. You
Right.
know, so nah, man. You
But now,
you you not KU. Whatever you talking about is wild, but
and
it
to shoot Jason Whitlock some bail, um, if this lawsuit is true about Joy and this is how she found her way to getting ahead, then I will say this. At one point, Jason Whitlock, when FS1 first started up with the roster of Skip and Speak and all that stuff.
well, when Speak was called
Yeah,
Speak
because Speak
himself,
was originally Jason Whitlock. It was
it
Jason
was
Whitlock and
himself.
Marcellus Wiley. So
Yes.
when it first started, at that point, the top dogs in that building would be considered Skip Bayless and Jason Whitlock. So
Hey,
Skip Bayless, Jason Whitlock, and Colin Cohort.
I gotta address this because John just said I know a few joys that will bust it open though. That's a double entendre, okay? And I know what that means. Hey, John, that's nasty work, bro. That's filthy. I'm glad there's only like a small handful. The only people watching this show that know what you talk about is just me and you.
That's
But
not
I
true.
get it.
That's not
Oh,
true.
you know too? Oh, my bad, Mark. Sorry to not include you. You do know as well. So hey, sorry, I gotta clap it up for John. That's he's usually funny, he's usually gold, but that one right there, I had to give him kudos on that real quick.
Yeah. So, but no, like I was saying, Jason Whitlock would have been one of those people for her to possibly aim at to get ahead. So it's not. So he may not be speaking from a standpoint of the fact that, oh, I'm an attractive man, but at the time he was a man within power.
Oh,
So
he would have been a target. He would have been the first target actually. So I hear you, Mark, and what I will do is give him kudos for it's weird how he worded it, right, Mark? He's
mhm.
trying to word it in a way and make it sound like he's bigging himself up to a certain level. But let's be honest, what he really means deep down is he would have folded like origami if he was
Mhm.
around her.
Yeah.
And he didn't allow himself to be around her to even give the opportunity to present itself so that she could take advantage of him in that way to where now he's giving her everything she wants, man. I mean, it's interesting, Mark. What's interesting about this case in the because this is less about Joy, right? But the Joy part is interesting because if this is what's being said about Joy, you can look at some similarities between her and the Molly Karam situation, and it only takes a few moments for certain people to start saying, well, if this woman over here can speak up about what's going on with FS1, then maybe I can speak up about what's going on over here. The whole Me Too movement is a thing for a reason. All right. One person comes out, they see that it's safe to come out, and then other people come out. I'm not accusing them over there at ESPN on doing any of these things. I'm just saying if something came out, I wouldn't be surprised.
But in truth, man, you know what bothers me the most about this whole thing?
Mhm.
In that lawsuit, we are talking more so about the sexual activities and the goings on of Joy Taylor, more so than the nastier part of it, which is a man soliciting um, a hairdresser for money and using his position of power to do so.
Yeah.
Like, why are we like if Joy Taylor used her feminine wiles to get ahead, like it clearly worked for her, and
Well,
nobody was an unwilling participant in that.
what I want to say is this: her being able to do that is more of an indictment on the men in
Yes,
power.
it's
To me,
it's an indictment on the culture
it's an
itself.
indictment on the culture, an indictment on the men in power, and when you say culture, I'm gonna bring it back to the Skip Bayless part. It's an indictment on the culture because this is what I told Mark right before we got on air. I said, "Hey, man, I feel like the reason why this is coming out right now is because all the way from the time that Skip Bayless left ESPN and went to FS1, he has had more power at FS1 than he had at ESPN. He had more power at FS1 than Stephen A. Smith will ever have at ESPN, right? He came in, he came up, he made his own terms. They did not want Shannon Sharp. He told them, I'm bringing Shannon Sharp. Ain't nothing you can do about it, right? So it's a different type of power that Skip Bayless had at FS1. Um, Only now are you starting to see that power dissipate a little bit with him walking. You can say he can say whatever he wants about walking away from the show. I assure you, there was some conversations had behind the scenes with the executive. Okay, so
Mhm.
he wanted to go on his own terms, but really, it's one of those things like, look, you can leave or we can fire you. You know what I'm saying? We could pull your show off the air or you can leave. So he left, right? So he's losing that power. He's just now starting to lose some of that juice that he got over there at FS1. Now it's safe for this woman to come out and say something because let's be honest, when you're talking about the culture, Mark, if that's the culture and that's happening with the lead executives in charge that's in charge of the TV shows, all of them or most of them, and then you have the biggest TV personality at FS1 and Skip Bayless engaging in the same behavior, you know that you're not going to be able to bring this up and say anything about it because the person you need to bring it up to is also engaging in the same activities. And then Skip Bayless has enough power to where he kind of has a little bit more power than possibly some of the executives there. So it's definitely a situation to where I feel like all this stuff is coming out now because Skip Bayless is no longer on TV every day. So I believe that this is going to have a fairly large effect on FS1. Right now, Speak is a crazy situation because you have a defendant essentially, you know, um, on TV every day. So I do expect at some point that there's a possibility that Joy could take a leave of absence because of the trial or because of the accusations. So yeah, no, it's a complicated situation. We didn't even mention that the fact that she was accused of having not just sleeping with Acho, but having a relationship with Acho.
Right.
And if you read the details, it was thought that she was having a relationship with him,
And
uh,
Dixon at the same time.
so that he can put her on the show.
Yeah.
And then at another point, it was said as if she was the one who had the juice within FS1, and she was the one that kind of helped him get the show.
Right.
So we don't really know what's going on with the Joy Taylor part of it, but the Skip Bayless part of it, um, he's dead in the water right now, Mark. I'm sure that we're going to see some more receipts come up, and if he did that to this hairdresser, I'm going to assume that there's more people.
Yeah.
Never
It's,
just one person, Mark. There's never
yeah.
just one person.
Nah, it's not, and it's going. And well, the funny thing is that what's being said or what's being alluded to by a lot of the former co-workers and the people in that building is the fact that um,
That's crazy.
they saying that Shannon Sharp was in fact sleeping with said hairdresser, and that was the only reason why Skip wanted her was because he felt like we know Skip has a problem with
Yes.
feeling less than, and he wanted to show like you think you could get her, I could get her too, type shit.
Yeah, so it's I like the way we talked about Marcellus Wiley. Shout out to Marcellus Wiley in this podcast. Um we talked about how he described it, um the whole situation, but this particular part of it, he said it's a jock environment. You have a lot of former players that are part of this broadcast teams and part of these shows, you know. The main person is typically somebody who's a reporter or a journalist, but you're surrounded by players. You're working in an environment where you're around Hall of Fame players, just people that have played the game, whether it be basketball, football, whatever, baseball, that have played the game at the highest level. And somebody like Skip Bayless, I mean, shout out to Jalen Rose. We seen what those types of digs of, hey, you weren't the player that I was. You wish you
Hmm.
were the player that I was, and that's why you're the way you are. We've seen how that affects Skip Bayless. We've seen that, okay? So it is a thing that he feels like he's in competition with these people. So I can very clearly see how, if this woman, and I want to be very clear because everything was insinuated that she was in some sort of relationship or sexual relationship with Shannon Sharp. Nothing was 100% said that she was, but from the details of it, it just seemed like she was, right? But I could see easily how Skip could look at that and say, he's the co-host. What are we doing here?
Right.
He's the co-host. You come and do my hair every day. He's my co-host. Why ain't you like? Why are you messing with him? Why are you not messing with me? Right? It becomes a competition thing, right? So I think that's I don't know, man, Mark. I everything that I've heard up to this point leads me to believe that Skip did what he's being accused of. I have my own personal beliefs about the details of the 1.5 of how it happened, but um, it seems pretty damning. It seems like they spent time building the case. Um, it seems like this isn't something that's going to go away. We spent 30 minutes on this topic, Mark.
Yeah.
I would like
Nah.
to move on.
Yeah. Absolutely. I definitely want to move on. I don't want
Yeah,
to spend
first,
that.
first ballot Hall of Famer like her brother is crazy. John needs to be locked away right now.
He cooking. He cooking.
Hey, he is. He cooking. He cooking. He's chefing up something nice right now.
Mm. Hey man, I wonder how far Bronny would get if he took the Joy Taylor route.
Hey, look. Hey, do what you have to. Rumble, young man, rumble. Hey, look. Hey, look. Hey, Genie Bus out there, bro. You know what I'm saying? Phil don't even be around. You know what I'm saying? Like, what we
Yeah,
doing here, man? Do what you got.
exactly. All right, man. Listen, but another thing, man. Playoffs is here, man. NFL playoffs is here. And guess who ain't there? The Niners.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, it is what it is.
You know,
Apparently for the last 22 years, either we make the NFC Championship game at a minimum, or we miss the playoffs. So this is just par for the course.
you know what I mean? Yeah,
You
you
know?
know, except mediocrity.
No, 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 no. We accept injuries, but that's not mediocrity.
I'm just
Now,
saying.
now, Mark, Mark, We're not going to do that. What I will say is this: I will be the first person to say something if we were in a situation to where we should have made the playoffs and then we didn't.
Hey, listen, man, I'm gonna just say this. Someone brought this up to me today, and I was like, and I can't unhear it. They was like, the 49ers are the bougie Cowboys. They said,
I'm not even I'm not even going to argue that, but I will put this disclaimer on it, Mark. I would say we're somewhere between that and the four Super Bowl lost Bills. We're somewhere between those two, okay? Because the Bills were great, and everybody recognizes that they were great. They just said they couldn't win the big one, and then everybody recognizes that the Cowboys they they think they're better than they are. I think we're somewhere in
no,
between.
yes, exactly. The
Yeah,
Cowboys
I think
think
we're
they're
somewhere
better
in
than they
between.
are,
I
and they're
agree with that.
living
I'm
off
not
of
even offended, Mark.
a former dynasty.
We partially are. We're living off of our name.
Yes,
We're living
which is
off of
from
a
a former
franchise name.
dynasty.
Yeah, yeah. But part of it is also us getting to these NFC championships, the Super Bowl. So we're different than the Cowboys.
Like I
I
said,
understand the
you're a
bougie.
bougie version of the
You
Cowboys.
can say bougie, but is it really bougie if we're actually just making it to the Super Bowl and losing? Like it's not bougie. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
We're a high class Cowboys. We said, hey, when you're a high class hooker, Mark, you're still a hooker, right? You can call yourself an escort or whatever you want to call yourself, but I mean, it's pretty similar. You know what I'm saying? I'm assuming it's just, you know what I'm saying? You look a little more socially acceptable. Okay,
Okay. All right.
that's
Well,
I'll accept
well,
that.
also
The 49ers are the Dallas Mexicans in red. That's crazy.
shout out
Hey,
to shout out to the Commanders. They
hey,
did in fact make it to the playoffs.
do y'all get that reference? The Dallas Mexicans in red. I,
Hmm.
for those that don't know, I want you to do yourself a favor. I want you to just Google 49ers fans and look at the pictures that you see. And I want you to Google Cowboys fans, and I want you to look at the pictures you find. They look the same. One of them's in blue, one of them's in red. They're like the Bloods and the Crips, man. I don't know how that works, but yes, 49ers fans do look awfully similar to Dallas Cowboys fans. I'll leave it at that. If you want to throw the Mexican part in there, that's fine. They got the same haircuts and everything.
All right, so look, here goes the playoff picture, guys. In fact, let me just do that. Let me do it this way, so
You
that
want to move
it'll,
us out the way a little bit?
yeah.
You got to move us out the way a lot. Maybe put us in the middle right there underneath. Yeah.
So
There we
listen, here you go, guys. Here goes your playoff picture. You got the you got the Detroit Lions who sealed it up this past weekend, and you got the Kansas City Chiefs who had already sealed up the number one seed. They are both on bye week, and then you have the Eagles at 2, the Vikings at 5. Uh, like you can read. I don't need to just say this shit. You can see
Yeah,
it.
you see it. You see it. But
But what I do want to bring up, Sean, which I found interesting, is that Amon Ra St. Brown said that the NFL needs to fix the seating of the playoffs. He
yeah,
said he does not disagree that the divisional winners should in fact be in the playoffs. He said, but beyond that point, it should be by the record. And
yes.
and I don't disagree.
This is something that I've been saying for about 15 years, Mark. Um, it's more prevalent now that 7 teams get in.
Hmm.
More prevalent now during a time where these divisions are top heavy, or not the divisions, but the conferences are more top heavy, to where you have these other divisions within the conferences. Like you said, the winners are getting away with the 8-9 record, 9-8 record, whatever. Right? We've seen it. I mean, I hate to call out a specific division, But I mean, the NFC South every year, it seems like whoever be representing them is like barely over 500. So
Right.
I agree 1,000%. It's something that us as fans have either said out loud, thought, or argued for a long time, and it feels good to see an actual NFL player speaking out about it because I feel like the change will not happen unless you have the players or people in charge of player associations speaking about it. But it is I I agree. If look, the Detroit Lions number 1, right? Minnesota Vikings number 5.
There's no reason why the Minnesota Vikings should be number 5. They should absolutely be number 2. They
If
have
I
more
lose
wins than the Philadelphia Eagles.
if
Like,
I lose 2 or 3 games all season, I'm not supposed to be a 5 seed.
yeah, well, I mean, you're not supposed to be a 5 seed for sure, but the fact that you have more wins than the 2, 3, and 4 seed is crazy. Like,
Like
you have more wins than every other seed, and yet you're the 5 seed. Like, that doesn't make sense. You should be the 2 seed, and everybody else should fall in line. Like, that's the way it should work. The way that it currently works is based off of the divisional winners are one, two, 3, and 4, and then everybody else is underneath it, and
yeah,
I believe that is something that needs to be changed.
yes, and the way that he explained it is exactly the way it should be. Yes, divisional winners should be rewarded for that. Your reward is being in the playoffs. You have a chance to compete for a championship. But the reward for coming in week, not just the 6 weeks that you play divisional opponents, but if you do well over a 17-week season, then that reward should be greater than that of the 6 games that are within the division.
Mm-hmm.
Which means that, like you said, if I lose 2 games, if I lose 3 games, my record over 17 games should matter more than somebody just winning a division. And that's plain and simple. I think it's cut and dry. Amon Ra, I'm glad. Shout out to Amon Ra. I actually like his podcast. Sometimes I don't like other team players going over there and being all friendly with them and shit. Like Debo, because Debo has a podcast. Debo goes over there and they go on each other's podcasts and all this stuff. Not really a fan of that type of stuff, but I really do like Amon Ra. I like Amon Ra as a player. I like his podcast. I like him as a person. Shout out to Amara, but I'm glad that he's speaking out, and hopefully we get some players, some more coaches, or whatever speaking out. Like you guys fight for all kinds of ridiculous things when it comes to these CBA agreements, and renegotiations. How about you fight for something that actually matters, like this?
Yeah. Yeah, man. We'll see what happens, but now that we're here and we're looking at it, how do you see the first round of the playoffs shaking out? Let's start with the NFC, Sean.
Okay, with the NFC, Eagles are rolling right now. In whatever questions we had about the Eagles in the beginning of the season,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like they're not fully 1,000% answered, but they're answered well enough for me to show them the respect that they deserve. And I don't see a scenario in which the Green Bay Packers win this game. Green Bay Packers are up and down, they're left and right. Specifically when it comes to the play of Jordan Love, I know a lot of people aren't going to really talk about it because a lot of people like Jordan Love. But the one thing that bothers me about Jordan Love, which I'm sure bothers Mark, is the inconsistency. And the inconsistency in the weird, untimely interceptions that he throws. He can't play like Jordan Love if they want a chance to win. The problem is the Eagles front seven has been good enough against the run that they can't just trot out Josh Jacobs every play and hope that Josh Jacobs carries them the way that he's been carrying them for the last third of the season. So I don't see how the Green Bay Packers work this out. Yeah, I don't. And one more thing to add to it, I don't like Christian Watson. He is inconsistent. He is more inconsistent than anybody that has ever been considered to be a number one receiver that I've ever seen. He's not
Well,
a number one receiver.
Christian Watson. Here's the thing: Christian Watson, in my opinion, isn't. It's hard to say you're inconsistent when you are always hurt. Like I'll just like you just you are can't get right. Like
Yes, that's a part of it. The other part of it that I don't like about Christian Watson is he has inconsistent efforts from play to play, and that's something that people have been pointing out on YouTube and all this other stuff. Is he does not always give you 100% effort, and sometimes it leads to him pulling up short on a route where maybe it wasn't designed for him, but Jordan Love sees him and he throws it to him anyway because he's open, and then it turns into an incomplete pass. I've seen it too many times this season from Christian Watson. I
but
just
that's the thing though. Like see that's the
that's
part
the chemistry thing.
where I
I get
say
it.
is can't get right because I don't know for certain if that is injury related or not.
It
Because he is always coming off of he's always in the season coming off of an injury or he's in the like and it's not like a small injury, it's an injury in which he missed significant time. So I don't know like if he's 100% or not, and that's like you know what I mean. Like so, I don't know if
okay.
that inconsistency has anything
Okay.
to do with the prior injury.
The reason why I believe that the inconsistency is part injury and part him is because I also don't forget him saying things like they're not getting me the ball enough. If you're not ready because you've been hurt, or if there's a lack of chemistry between you and Jordan Love because you've been missing, because of your injuries, then you yourself should understand that it takes time to build that chemistry. You yourself should understand that, hey, these are the receivers that have been here week in and week out. You can't blame Jordan Love for not getting you the ball when he just has a natural chemistry built up with these players that have been here the whole time. There's just something about Christian Watson's approach to the game that I don't like.
Okay, that's fair.
So,
But
so what you said was absolutely valid. I feel like part of it, if there is a lack of chemistry and if there is any issues like that, then it very well could be stemming from, like you said, when you say injury, if you're not there, then those are things you can't work on.
right. All right, but
Yeah.
moving
So
past that, like we got the Washington versus Tampa Bay, and honestly, this will be a good one simply because we're going to have the Lattimore Evans fight, uh, part 15. You know what I mean?
mm,
And
man, I can't wait, boy.
and
Every
it's
time.
and it's playoff atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like we got the Lattimore Evans fight in playoff atmosphere. Like it's always fireworks when these two are going up against each other. And now it's in the playoffs. Like we've seen it before when there was Saints versus Tampa Bay, but now we get to see it again with Tampa Bay versus Washington. It's like these two are inevitable. Like dog, it 100% is an immovable object versus an unstoppable force. Like
Every time.
every single time, and it's going to be fun simply for that reason alone. I wholeheartedly, and I'm sorry to say this, Sharice, wholeheartedly believe that at the end of the day, Tampa Bay is going to defeat the Washington Commanders simply for the fact that they have too many veterans that have been here before. They have too many guys that have experienced this pressure before. They they
Mm.
they know like they know what to do in this effort. They are going to be poised for this moment. And that's not to say that Jaden Daniels and company may not be like because they very well may be able to step up for to the moment. But I know for a fact the the Tampa Bay players will. Like where it's a question mark for the Commanders, it's factual for Tampa Bay because you have players on that roster that have won a Super Bowl with Tampa Bay. You have players on that roster that have been to the playoffs already and won playoff games. Like Washington, most of your key guys haven't been in this situation before.
Yeah, nah, it's a valid point. I don't even take that as hate, Mark. In Washington fans, if you're out there, don't take that as hate, man. It's just a fact of life, man. This is what happens. The only reason why the Niners beat the Lions last year in the playoffs is partly because of that experience of our guys being in those moments a little bit more often than the Lions. Outside of Jared Goff, those guys ain't never been there. So stuff like an interception popping off of a dude's head and IU catching a ball. Some people say that's luck. It is luck. Partially it is luck, but partially is preparation. Partially it's focus and a level of focus that you are required to have, and that's that atmosphere of a playoff game. We some of our players might be coming into it with that, and some of the Lions players might not. The Lions just went through that last season, so I expect the Lions to have that kind of have a little bit more um, of an elevated play from regular season or playoffs than they had last season. So it's not disrespect, it's not anything. And then at the end of the day, you still have a rookie quarterback. Rookie quarterbacks, and I think Jaden Daniels is somebody who should not and might not and will not be affected. There's a good chance that he will not be affected by the playoff atmosphere. But there's a chance that he's going to be affected maybe for the first quarter, maybe the first two drives, and maybe those first two drives affect the game to where that's the difference between a win and a loss. Okay, there's there's levels to this. You can't. It's a game of inches when you get to the playoffs. All right, every single possession matters. And with that said, I trust the Tampa Bay Buccaneers more than the Washington Commanders right now. I don't trust the Washington Commanders run game. I don't trust the Washington Commanders receivers outside of Terry McLaurin. Jaden Daniels can play the most perfect game he's ever played in his life, and they can still lose because of all the requisite pieces. I trust Tampa Bay's defense more than I trust Washington's defense. I think Tampa Bay's just a better team. In Washington, it is an any given Sunday situation. Washington is an explosive team that can beat Tampa Bay. I also will not be shocked if Washington beats Tampa Bay. But I'm going into this game saying I agree with Mark. I got Tampa Bay winning.
All right. Next, man, we got the Rams versus Minnesota. And I'm taking the Rams. I'm taking the Rams because I think the Sam Darnold experience has ran its course. Um,
Whew.
I think the Sam Darnold experience ran its course, and I think it's never been more prevalent than that Week 18 game because they lost that game only scoring 7 points. It was 35-7, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you go back and watch that game, you will see that Detroit's defense didn't do anything at all to keep it to only 7 points.
Well, I was going to say, people were saying that Sam Donald got somebody hit the factory reset button on him
Yeah.
because plays were there. Plays were there. Like you said, it wasn't anything that Detroit did. The plays were there
Multiple times in the red zone, in the end
in
zone,
the
and
end
he
zone.
just flat out missed guys in the end
Yeah.
zone.
Yeah. In the end zone. He did. So, um, yeah, I'm not even going to call it the Sam Donald experiment.
I said
Um,
experience, not experiment.
Experience, excuse me. What I'll say is this: for as much praise as Sam Donald's got all year, Brock Purdy put up better numbers than Sam Donald this season. and people think that Brock Purdy had a down year.
Mm-hmm.
And Sam Darnold has had Justin Jefferson for the entire season. He's had Aaron Jones for pretty much, he missed him for like 2 or 3 games. Hawkinson came back halfway through the season. He's
Yeah.
had it for the second half of the season. And matter of fact, most of his losses came in the second half of the season with Hawkinson there. So the offensive line is pretty good for the Vikings. Everybody thinks the play calling has been amazing for the Vikings. All that does is tell me that the quarterback is the issue. And right now, Mark, I know we ranted and raved about the Vikings defense in the beginning of the season. Teams started figuring that out a little bit, but
Mm-hmm.
honest to goodness truth, it seemed to be what I was saying before. If you have veteran quarterbacks that have seen these types of things or that can process quicker, they're going to fare better against the Vikings. What does the Rams have? Excuse me, Matt Stafford. Matt Stafford can light this defense up for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. It's a possibility. He can light any defense up for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's what I do know, Mark. So you combine the fact that your best asset is your defense and the way that you play defense and the trickery that you use in defense, and you got somebody that can neutralize that completely on the opposite side as in Matt Stafford, and then you're now starting to see Sam Darnold become human right before your eyes. You know what I mean? It just doesn't look like. I think the Minnesota Vikings are on the wrong side of momentum right now. So they're on the wrong side of momentum right now, and the Rams have been hot. They're on the right side of momentum right
Right.
now. This is a clear situation to where I believe that the Rams are going to win. Uh, the Rams might even win by 2 scores, Mark. But yeah, I got the Rams as well.
All right.
I'm surprised that we're agreeing on this right now. I'm not gonna hold you.
I mean, it shouldn't. On now, let's go to the. I feel like the AFC side is far more obvious than the NFC side. Like, and doesn't require nearly as much conversation. Like Buffalo, Buffalo should just be far and away ahead of the Broncos. The Broncos are are a team on the rise and will be good in the future. But that's for the future. Right now, Buffalo Bills, it again comes down to the experience. They've been in the playoff atmosphere. They have mostly veterans, whereas Denver is mostly young rookies and young men. Like, this is not even close. Like, I don't. It shouldn't be close.
Mm,
Like, that's
yeah.
that's just how it goes for me.
All right. Well, I'm gonna lean into this a little bit further. Look, man, the Broncos hot right now. Bo Nix hot right now. The one thing that doesn't get talked about right now with the Broncos is their defense. Very good. Okay. Right
Yeah.
now, if the Broncos line up with the Steelers, I might pick the Broncos. If the Broncos line up with the Texans or the Chargers, I might pick the Broncos, Mark.
Hmm.
But they lined up with the Bills. So right now it's one of those situations too little too late. You're the seventh seed. You got to play the Bills first round. Sorry to hear that. This is a game that I do not believe they can win. I love their defense. Josh Allen is the type of player that can neutralize that with his legs. Josh Allen can run for 100 yards and 2 touchdowns. You don't know. It's been that kind of season for Josh Allen. So, and right now they are actually willing to run James Cook. I like the Broncos defense. I don't think they have anything for that, right? I don't think they can completely stop one or both of those things at the same time. Okay? Yes, he said he should the bet versus the Bills. Good experience. What I was gonna get to next is on the other side of the ball. Bo Nix, phenomenal. The problem with the Bo Nix being phenomenal is he doesn't have phenomenal athletes around him for weapons. The people that I expect to choke in this game are the wide receivers, are the running back, are the tight end. Those are the people that I expect to.
See,
I'm saying choke, but you know what I mean. Bills
I
defense.
well, I'm gonna interject and just push back slightly. What cornerbacks do the Bills have to to really say that they're going to dominate these wide receivers, particularly one such wide receiver, Cortland Sutton. Like,
No, no, they don't have. Okay, so they don't have any DBs that are going to dominate them. I'm talking about outside of Cortland Sutton, everybody else being super young. I never said that these guys are going to dominate them. I said they're going to not play to their standard. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying the Broncos receive the Broncos skill position players on offense are not going to play the way that they're supposed to. Outside of Bo Nix, Bo Nix has showed me that he can weather the storm. Okay,
see,
the
this is
Bills,
where
the Bills, I feel like where they're going to put pressure on the Broncos is going to be with the front seven, and that's what I'm looking at. I'm not talking about the stuff. If the Broncos are able to get past the 50-yard line and get into the red zone, I don't think there's anything that the Bills can do. Excuse me, about Cortland Sutton. He's the one person that I think that they don't have an answer for. But what I'm trying to tell you is it can't just be Bo Nix and Cortland Sutton versus the Bills.
yeah, no, but I don't see. I think you're giving Bo Nix too much credit simply because Bo Nix. This is playoff atmosphere. This is your first time experiencing it, and it's the Bills front seven. You're not. I don't think he's built for that yet.
No,
Like,
no, no. Well, listen to me. Listen to me. Here's an example I'll give. Right. I watched Taylor Heineke play in his first NFL start ever. Right. I watched him play in a playoff atmosphere game
mm-hmm.
versus the Steelers, which was a must win that they needed to win to get into the playoffs, and he balled, right? I watched him then play in a playoff game and play very well. And when I say very well, he still ended up throwing two picks to lose the game. He threw for almost 300 yards, and he made about three or four plays that made you say, wow,
Right.
right? I think Bo Nix is capable of that. I think he's capable of throwing for more yards, but he's also going to make those mistakes. I'm not sitting here telling you that Bo Nix is going to, come out here and play flawless. What I'm trying to tell you is Bo Nix is going to come out here and make plays. Like, I don't think that part is just going to magically disappear when he's been making plays all season long. The problem is he's going to make those mistakes. And like I said, he's going to make those mistakes because of the front seven of the Buffalo Bills being able to slow down the run and also being able to apply that pressure in the pass rush. Those are the two things that I believe is going to happen. But when you look at it at the end of the day, even if Bill Nix doesn't have a perfect game or doesn't have a phenomenal game in the way that you would want him to, you're still going to say that Bo Nix wasn't the reason why they lost the game.
Well, okay. If
That's
that's
me personally.
all right.
Like it's
Can't.
it's not going to be like Jaden Daniels. We know Jaden Daniels more than likely ain't going to be the reason why the Washington Commanders lose. I don't think it's going to be that type of performance, but I do have a little bit more faith in Bo Nix than most people. But I could see Bo Nix having a 3 touchdown, 2 interception game for
I
300
I don't.
yards.
I don't see that happening.
I
Um,
do.
but Ravens, Pittsburgh. Um, Ravens are just better offensively by a mile, and Pittsburgh's defense isn't good enough to where they make up the difference. Uh, and as we saw so far, like what Russ and the Steelers, or what Justin Fields and the Steelers was able to do early in the season started to fall off in the second half of the season. They
Mhm.
went from a 10-3 team to a 10-7 team, or what was it? Something like that. But yeah,
Yeah, no, there was a distinct difference between the first half of the season for the Steelers and the second half of the season. Um, you still going?
yeah, no, but yeah, that. So with that, it's Baltimore's game. Lamar Jackson, man possessed. Derrick Henry, you like, hey TJ, you can't just pin your ears back and fly at Lamar all game because that's not going to work because you're going to be flying at Lamar, and guess who's running past you with the ball? Derrick Henry. So it's not it's not that type of party for the Steelers, and I do not think the Steelers has anything to make a difference. I mean, all you got, like, it's far too easy to get George Pickens out of his game right now. Like, all you got to do is taunt him a little bit, and he's going to want to fight you. And
Well,
then
first of all, he clearly is a NBA young boy listener, man.
yeah,
He got that young boy energy, man. Um, you don't even need to do nothing to him. He might just
right,
do it on his own, Mark. Like he's out there. He's a
yeah,
menace.
like bro, like honestly, like, to be perfectly honest, people like him probably shouldn't be in the NFL. Like,
Think
but
yeah, he might have a problem. And I'm not
like
saying that being facetious. I'm
like I
saying
didn't think there was going to be a player, or I didn't think there was going to be a wide receiver with a shorter fuse than DK Metcalf. But here we are.
yes, thank you. I'm glad that you phrased it that way because everybody knows and everybody feels that DK has a problem. I'm trying to tell you that George Pickens has been going under the radar, and I'm glad that over these last few weeks people have been highlighting it because he's a liability. Because
Yeah.
right now we're highlighting it as fans. Next season, Mark, you better believe the NFL is going to have eyes on him. He's going to be a person of interest, and that is going to lead to some ejections. That's going to lead to some penalties. Yeah, man, he's walking up on people, slapping them up in their face mask for no apparent reason. They didn't even do nothing to him. Like he's just out here wilding, man. So
Yep.
yeah. But okay, my opinion on this is very short, Mark. There's nothing to see here. There is absolutely nothing to see in this game. This is the blowout game of the first round of the playoffs. It's almost
I think
guaranteed.
there's two, but all right.
You can say there's two. This is the blowout. There might be one other one, but this is going to be the 30-point blowout. That's what I'm saying. This is going to be 40-10 or whatever you want to call it. This is going to be, when I say the blowout, that's what I mean. I'm not saying there's not going to be any other blowouts. I think I expressed my opinion about the Eagles Packers game very well. I think
That's not. But
I
we'll
think
get to it.
that's a minimum two-score win. But no, this is the blowout victory. Um, there's nothing that the Steelers can do offensively or defensively to stop what the Ravens do. It's crazy because the Ravens haven't been playing defense all year, but somehow when they play the Steelers, they want to play defense. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a fan of the Steelers offense, and for whatever reason, when they play the Ravens, they can't move the ball. Now, some would point out that second game, it was a weather game, but let's be honest, Russ was out there just making mistakes. I watched the game. They have plenty of opportunity to score. Okay, they just it's something in their head when they play the Ravens sometimes. So, but with the way that the Ravens are rolling right now, I don't think there's anything the Steelers could do.
Right. Well, last game, Houston versus the Chargers, and this is a game where I also feel as though this will be a blowout. Houston will lose this game. Like, they are 100% going to lose this game. Houston offensive line is bad this year, and in their offensive line being bad, we have seen C.J. Stroud not prepared for the amount of duress that he has been under, and it has caused a deterioration in his play in the way that he has been playing all season. So their offense has looked bad. Their offense is somewhat well. They're missing guys. No Tank
Yes,
Dell.
they're missing people. They're
They're
missing. They're missing Tank Dell. They're missing Stephon Diggs. They're
right,
missing key players. It's not just missing people.
right.
You know.
And
Yeah.
defensively, Houston um hasn't been world beaters or anything to talk about really. Meanwhile,
Yeah.
you have the Chargers who have been methodically moving the ball through the running game where J.K. Dobbins, who did miss time, but he is back and he looks good still. So, and then
Yeah.
you have Justin Herbert, who has been playing competently because of the running game. So, like when
Well, I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
no, no, I was just saying that because of the running game being available to him, like he's able to just take shots here and there and just keep the ball moving as necessary. And I just don't Houston. I don't see them having a shot, especially seeing how well the Chargers have been playing as of late, or
Yeah.
just not just as of late, but most of the season.
Yeah. So this is what I'll say, man. Right now, I'm gonna take this time out to give Jim Harbaugh some kudos here. Um, me and Mark, when I say we, me and Mark both have looked at the Chargers organization over the last 30 years as just being, whether you want to call them cursed, can't get right, whatever you want to call them, they were that, right? We've said it, we've seen it, we've witnessed it our whole lives. Okay, it didn't matter how much talent they had on that team, something would go wrong. It doesn't matter that they end up being the number 2 seed and having a bye week back in the day. It didn't matter. They were gonna mess it up, and you could pretty much set your clock to it, right? Didn't matter how great the coach was. They had some great coaches over time. It didn't matter, you know. With that said, shout out to Jim Harbaugh. Sometimes it helps when your coach used to play quarterback. There's not a lot of quarterbacks that turn into head coaches. I want to make that clear for you guys. Everybody always asks questions like, why won't Peyton Manning be a coach or a coordinator? These quarterbacks been doing it for so long. It's like when you grow up and you eat ramen noodles every day because you have to, not because it's a choice. And then people be like, you don't like ramen noodles? Like, nah, man, I ain't doing that. Now that I have an option, I'm not doing that. So like that's what happens with these guys. So not a lot of quarterbacks turn out to be coaches, but it helps. Jim Harbaugh, I believe the reason why Herbert is having the success that he's having is because Harbaugh recognized immediately, hey man, there's certain things that you can do, there's certain things that you can't do, there's certain things that you want to do that you shouldn't do. I'm going to save you from yourself, right? You want to hyper target guys. I'm not going to let you do that. You want to throw the ball 50 times. We're not going to let you do that here. Okay?
Hmm.
You have immense talent, and I'm going to make sure that you're playing efficiently. So Harbaugh's got the run game going. He's got the defense going. Okay? Lad McConkey, shout out to Lad McConkey. He has turned into, to me, one of the better receivers in the NFL already as a rookie. As a rookie, he's under the radar right now, but he also has been helping Herbert navigate through this season, and he's been somebody that he can lean on. Uh, Johnston has been inconsistent as everybody expected, but Lad McConkey has been his guy. So, and that's including all of the injuries. He's seen injuries through the entire running back committee, whatever you want to call it. Every running back in on their team has been hurt at some point in time. Okay, they cycle through them all. So the fact that Jim Harbaugh has been able to navigate this has been amazing. With that said, um, and this is no knock on D'Amico Ryans. The coaching is he's just the better coach by far, right? He has a better
Hmm.
game plan by far. He has a healthier team by far. Um, right now, I love Stroud, but this season they have the better quarterback right now. So this is another game where I don't think there's I don't think there's a chance that the Texans can win this game. I don't know if it'll be a blowout, and that's only because Harbaugh plans on running the ball. If he plans on running the ball the way that he did in the first half of the season, this won't be a blowout because the score will stay close because they're just burning clock and running the ball. If they decide to have the passing game opened up a little bit more, like they have in the second half with Herbert throwing the ball a little bit more often, then this absolutely will be a blowout because the defense is going to show up and they're not going to allow the Texans to score more than 17 points. Simple.
Yeah.
So I'm with you on this, Mark. I did not expect us to have the same takes. I did not. So, but it seems like we're on the same page for most everything except for maybe a little bit of the Broncos Bills stuff, but we still agree that the Bills are going to win those games. All
Yeah.
right. So
All right.
my question to you, Mark, before we
Hmm.
move off the playoff bracket, do you think the bye week teams on either side have a chance of losing in the second round of the playoffs?
Yes.
Which team? Or both of them?
Well, if the Rams advance, yes,
You think
they
they're
would
capable of
advance.
just beating everybody?
Huh?
You just think they're capable of beating anybody in a sense of their offense, or
No, I just think like again, Minnesota, like Detroit's defense didn't play well. Even though the
Detroit don't have
score,
a defense right now. I'm gonna be honest with you. They don't have a
even though
defense.
the score was 35-7, they didn't play well. Like, and so the Rams get there, and if we get the version of Matthew Stafford who's on target, Detroit is losing
Yeah,
because there is a lot open and against that Detroit defense. And the reason why is because, and in order for that scenario to happen, it would require Tampa Bay to defeat the Commanders and the Rams
which
to
is what we're
defeat
talking about.
Minnesota.
Yeah, yeah. I'll say this too: the only person on the Lions defense that's been balling this year, obviously Hutchinson got hurt. We know what happened with him.
Hmm.
Kirby Joseph is playing out of his mind this season. But once again, I'm with you on this. Matt Stafford can navigate that. I, maybe it's not said enough on our podcast, but I think I think Matt Stafford is the last of a dying breed of a quarterback that can do everything. Maybe he can't. Maybe the only thing he can't do is kill you with his legs. But Stafford can do everything. And when he's playing at his peak, there's absolute. I personally believe there's nothing you can do about it if he has the weapons, and he does have the weapons.
So, but yeah, I mean, so like I said, Detroit can definitely lose to the Rams in the first round. Now, Kansas City, absolutely not. I don't care who they play.
Hey, they could put Carson Wentz out there. Look, NFL's gonna make sure they don't lose. Look,
Yeah, like I don't
that's
care.
what I'm gonna
They
tell
could
you.
play. They could play the Bills, or they could play the Bills or the Ravens in the first round. Even though that is absolutely impossible, they could play either one of them in the first round, and they would still win.
Look, I'm with you on that. Look, the NFL has been fully invested all season. They took a
So
couple games off when Pat Mahomes got caught on the hot mic. They took a
yeah,
couple games off, but they hopped right back in, Mark. So
yep. So No, like it is what it is.
Yeah,
That we are looking at what we're going to see, and it's going to be a good one, man. But keeping things in the NFL, moving off the playoff
yeah,
picture,
yeah.
a
Real
lot of
quick, Mo, what's up, man? We're good. What's good?
a
What's
lot of
good, Mo? Glad to see you back.
a lot of coaches got fired. Well, not a lot of coaches, but um,
It's still a good amount of coaches for like a 24-hour period.
coaches have been. I will say, let me just say, coaches have been fired. And two such coaches who seem to me unjustly so
Yeah,
is Gerard Mayo and Antonio Pierce. And on our Facebook, I posted about Antonio Pierce's firing, and I said at this point, I truly just don't want any more black coaches hired as head coaches. And I said that largely because I feel as though it's a disingenuous act. Now,
yeah,
now there is nuance to this. There is nuance to these firings because Gerard Mayo was fired and Antonio Pierce was fired, and I oftentimes say that if you fire your head coach in the first year, unless they did something like as far as sexual misconduct or like some physical altercation or something like that, but if you fire them within the first year because of like play on the field reasons, that is a sign of a bad organization.
terrible organization. Yeah,
Because you don't know, like, unless this person was inheriting the 2018 Chiefs, you like you're not necessarily being set up for a great situation. You have to build that. You have to build into
mhm.
that. So firing Gerard Mayo on his first year when he has a rookie QB, no offensive line, older running backs, no wide receivers that you can name off the top of your head. That you like, what are we doing here? Like, you didn't give him a chance to build this team. And then Antonio Pierce, very similar situation. No wide receivers that we could truly name off the top of our head except for Brock Bowers, and Brock Bowers is a tight end. No court in this situation, no quarterback. Um, and you're firing him in his second year on the job when his first year on the job was a bunch of turmoil as well. So you're firing these guys and not really giving them a shot. And it's always the black coaches that seem to be put in these predicaments of like of having to take these jobs where you're almost in a no-win situation because you're not getting the opportunity to coach the team that is on its way up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I look at this, and like I said, there's nuance here because you can chalk some of this up to the Raiders just simply being a bad organization with a bad owner, because Mark Davis has certainly shown that to be so far a pretty bad owner. But Patriots not necessarily a bad organization, but maybe they just got lucky with Tom Brady and at the time, and that's why they were considered a good organization because you lucked into a prolific quarterback, and you lucked into a prolific situation at the time. But
Yeah,
but yeah, you see all these other teams, and I don't know, man. Like I'm I look at the Broncos. A lot of the stuff that happened with the Broncos last year was certainly fireable, in my opinion.
absolutely fireable.
Like a lot of the things that happened with the Broncos last season was certainly fireable stuff, and yet Sean Payton was allowed to have another year, and look at them now. And I wouldn't. I'm not saying I would have fired Sean Payton, but I'm just saying, like, you look at Gerard Mayo's first year versus Sean Payton's first year. It's not a lot different.
I would argue that there was more craziness going on with Sean Payton's first year than with
Yeah,
Gerard
like,
Mayo.
because people want to talk down about Gerard Mayo calling out players or whatever like that and all that. Sean Payton did the exact same thing last year. He did it to Russ. He did all types of stuff in calling out Russ last year, and so we're not. So you can. That's pretty comparable there. So, and yet Sean Payton lived to see another day. We have Brian Dable and Joe Shane, who collectively just been trash, pure, unadulterated trash. Like, you had one playoff season. Now you could
Yeah.
say, well, you had
Let's
Daniel
be honest,
Jones,
the
but
one
that's
playoff
on you
season,
guys for having Daniel Jones, and yet
they
somehow,
should they should be punished by the one. They should be punished for the one playoff season specifically because it made them believe in Daniel Jones. If I'm the owner, Mark, I am punishing them for the one playoff season.
right, and yet somehow they will be back next season. Mike McCarthy will be back next season. Um, like Doug Peterson. Doug Peterson, he got a good enough time to be allowed to say, "All right, I've seen enough." He had 3 years. He had 3 years with the Jags.
Doug Peterson, yes, this is year 3. Yeah, this was
Yeah,
year
so he
3.
had he had 3 years with the Jags. That's enough time to say, "I've seen enough," and it's not getting better. Now, I will also argue that the quarterback in Trevor Lawrence is just not that good. But hey, it's still enough time to say, "Hey, I've seen enough from this head coach that I'm moving on." But other coaches, they don't get that grace. And I almost feel as though if the Houston Texans did not take off last season under CJ Stroud having a lightning bolt year,
D'Amico Ryans might be, yeah.
yeah, D'Amico Ryans might also be out.
Well, let me put it this way. This is the only thing that I'm gonna push back on. Um, Sean Payton, he's a Super Bowl winner. He has a cachet.
Right.
I'll give him that. Doug Peterson, however you want to slice it, he is also a Super Bowl winner. He has a cachet. All right, but the point you're making still stands. Brian Dable had no cachet, and the Giants have been trash. And even if you count their, I'm going to call it a BS playoff season, where they snuck in the playoffs with a record that shouldn't have made the playoffs, but because the NFC was kind of weak that year, they got in, right? And it was also one of the first years with a 7-team playoff. If you know what I'm saying, if the 17 playoff didn't exist, they wouldn't have been in. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna be very clear about that playoff run that they had. All right. Um, Brian Dable has been given grace. Okay. Um, you look around the league. Um, I'm not a fan of, is it Zach Martin for the Bengals? He has not shown me anything during his entire coaching tenure that says that this man is a coach. And he has now had 2, maybe 3 seasons where he's underperforming and nothing gets said. He's never on the hot seat, Mark. Okay. Um, I've seen other coaches that don't have the cachet get grace. Okay. And My issue with it is this. Um, Two things. Number one, the people that get the grace are the white coaches. They have been. It's been very consistent that the white coaches are getting grace. It's been very consistent that the black coaches aren't getting grace. Whether you call it grace or not, whether you call it they hired the black coach to be a placeholder in the first place, I don't know what you want to call it. But all I know is when you look at the coaches that get hired in one year and get fired in the same year, they're always black.
Right.
And I'm not just saying that as somebody who's just feeling something. I want you guys, if you're out there, I want you guys to look it up, man. The black coaches are the ones that are getting fired year one. I can't re I can't remember the last white coach that got fired year one. Even Urban Meyer made it to year two.
Yeah.
I can't tell you the last white coach that made it to that got fired in year one. So I mean, Adam Gase when he went to the Jets made it more than 1 year. I trust me. I've done a lot of thinking about this, and I'm telling you, it doesn't exist. Okay, it's always the black coaches. So whether they're hiring them just as a placeholder, just to say that they had a diversity hire, or whether they hired them saying that this guy is good for the program, i.e., Antonio Pierce, which that's what they looked at him as. Hey, the players like him. They're rallying behind him. We like him coming in as an interim coach. We like what he did. We want to hire him as a head coach. I believe that the hiring of uh, Antonio Pierce was genuine. And I also believe that the hiring of Gerard Mayo was genuine. I don't feel like those were diversity hires. You know, they're both guys, one from the Bay Area, the other that played for the Patriots. I believe those were genuine hires, but yet somehow they end up getting fired within 1 year. The Raiders situation, they literally deconstructed the team right in front of
Hmm.
them. They said Gardner Minshew was going to be your starting quarterback. We're not looking for anybody else. Aiden O'Connell got put in for him at one time before he got hurt. Right? They just changing quarterbacks, and they're not even looking for an actual franchise QB. They're not drafting one. Nothing. They trade Devontae Adams. They let Josh Jacobs go. But yet and still, I don't know how many wins you expected from Antonio Pierce as a first year head coach with that roster to get in that division. Then you look at the Patriots situation, and the Patriots have been putrid since Tom Brady left. I'm not even going to say since I'm not even going to say since Belichick left. Since Brady left, they've been
Yeah.
trash. What he's doing is par for the course of what y'all been experiencing since Brady left. But then you're going to say, "Oh no, we need to get rid of you. We're tired." I don't know if you saw the quote. Robert Kraft said he wanted to get back to championship football. That was his reason for firing Gerard Mayo.
I don't.
That's bogus.
Who
Okay,
who's gonna do that in one season?
nobody. That's the point. So look, man, if you got NFL teams, if you're going to go out there and hire somebody, let's just say that all of this is a game to you, right? You're not winning in this game, okay? You're still losing in this game because you wasted a season. You wasted an entire season. You wasted a year of development for a quarterback, for a young quarterback that might be better than most of the quarterbacks that you've had come in the building to replace Tom Brady. I like Joe Milton. I feel like he should be given a chance. It doesn't matter. You guys are wasting an entire season on a guy that you never intended to keep, it seems like.
Right.
Or a guy that you never intended to actually give a fair shot at turning this thing around. So you guys think you're doing something. Only thing you're doing is hurting yourselves. So I don't want to hear about how you want to get back to championship football when you're not doing championship things and allowing the person that you believed in and hired to actually get an opportunity to turn things around. Even when you guys initially hired Bill Belichick coming off of an 8-8 season with the Browns, you guys allowed Bill Belichick to falter and fail for a little bit before he started winning. All we're saying is give these coaches that you're hiring, specifically the black coaches that you're hiring, give them the same opportunity, man, because they're definitely not getting it.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's pretty much it, man. And it's not doesn't seem like it's going to get any better.
Nope.
But it, but we one thing we do know is that it is being reported that the Cowboys has denied the Chicago Bears um, the ability to interview Mike McCarthy. So if that's so, that pretty much solidifies that Mike McCarthy will be coming back to the Cowboys as their head coach, because otherwise there is absolutely no reason for you to deny a team their ability to interview a person for a head coach unless you planned on bringing him back. And with that being said, I'm ecstatic because the combination of Jerry Jones at GM and Mike McCarthy at head coach has been wonderful for the rest of the NFC East.
Yeah, man. It's weird how they just find a way to stay stagnant
Mm.
or regress. It's never progression. It's always stagnant or regression.
Yeah, man,
And
it's been absolutely wonderful, bro. Like I love it. I
hey,
love it.
Washington passed them up real quick. That was crazy how that happened, Mark.
Like it's so like but one thing that I wish that I hope and wish that the Eagles would deny teams their ability to interview Kellen Moore. I know Kellen Moore is just the offensive coordinator, but at some point, as an NFL team, you have to start looking at the cohesiveness of your teams. In when you're a successful team, your offensive coordinator and your defensive coordinator jobs cannot consistently be just a revolving door. The San Francisco 49ers are now experiencing
Absolutely.
what that is when you have been a revolving door for multiple years. Now you're scraping the barrel for a defensive coordinator. You're scraping the barrel for an offensive coordinator, and it's not as good as it was because up until this point, you just been letting coordinators out the door every single year to go to a different head coaching job, and no coordinator has been there for more than 2 years.
Yeah, we've had four defensive coordinators over the past 6 years. Um, Offensive coordinators, we've had one, two, three, four. We've had either four or five offensive coordinators since over the last 6 years. Okay, that's an outrageous turnover number.
Yeah,
And I want to make this point real quick, and I don't want to dwell on it. We do this, and we allow them to go out there. We encourage them to go out there and get hired elsewhere because we get compensatory picks for it. I'm gonna sit here and tell you, as a Niners fan, the compensatory picks,
ain't worth that
yeah,
shit.
they've worked out for us. But if you do the totaling up, if you do the math, it's not worth it. It's
Like
not worth it. It hasn't been worth it, and you're seeing it right now not being worth it.
the players need consistency of what they need consistency of a vision.
Yeah,
That's just the
identity.
like they need to know, okay, I learned some things from this year, and I got comfortable in this system and in the vision of this coordinator this year. Next year, I'm going to build upon that. But now, if he's not there, it's a new person that I have to get comfortable with and build upon and relearn. Listen,
Yeah.
this takes me back to this takes me to
Just gonna
Jalen
say.
Hurts because Jalen Hurts has not had the same coordinator in he hasn't had the same coordinator in a
Back to
single
back
season
seasons. Yeah.
um since he's been in. Now some would say Shane was the coordinator in year 1 and year 2, but Shane took over halfway through year 1, and we saw what happened in year 2 just from having the same person in year 2. Massive leap. Massive leap. Shane goes to the Colts, which the Eagles absolutely should not have let happen. Shane goes to the Colts, and then we look at what seems to be a regression. And now we got Kellen Moore, and you can't let this person out the building. The last
Yeah.
time I remember the last person that truly sticks out in my mind that this happened to was Jason Campbell. And Jason Campbell
Yeah.
had potential to be amazing, but he never had the same coach. He never had the same head coach, never had the same offensive coordinator year after year. And the
Yeah.
bull and so he never progressed. He never
Yeah.
progressed, but he had
I,
potential to be amazing.
I can give you a name right now off the top of my head that happened around the same time as the Jason Campbell thing. People forget Alex Smith with the Niners. We were changing coordinators and head coaches damn near every year. And people thought that he was a bust. People were calling him a bust. They were calling him all kind of names. And then all of a sudden, he had the same coach for multiple years, right? In in Harbaugh, and then all of a sudden they were like, "Man, this Alex Smith is actually playing good." Like it's like, yeah, man. It like I will give Harbaugh credit for being a good coach, but part of it is just the consistency, right? He's had the same coach. He's played in the same exact to the detail system for multiple years. And that's all it took for Alex Smith to take the leaps that he needed to take. Same thing. He left the Niners, he went to the Chiefs. He had Eric Bieniemy the whole time. So it's one of those things where consistency matters. Um this season, I talked to some of my Niner fans, friends that I have, some actual Niner fans, not these BS fucking fans that we got these days, but talk to some real Niner fans. And the one thing that we pointed out, Mark, and I'm sure you will probably agree with this, the entire time that Kyle Shanahan has been here, even throughout all of the defensive coordinators that we've had an identity on defense. It feels like this is the first season that we don't have an identity. And I say that only because you can look at everybody's raving about how Mustafa has played. He had a great individual season. Everybody raved about how great Fred Warner was playing before he messed up his ankle.
Hmm.
Everybody talked, well, within the, now outside of that, within the Niners fan base and kind of atmosphere, we talked about how great the young DBs played. We talked about how everybody was filling in on defense outside of the linebacker situation, right? Collins, our DT that we picked up from the Texans, he had a great year. Um, Bosa had a better season this year than he had last year, Mark. But yet, our team defense was like top five last year, and this year we're like 26. And the difference is we had a bunch of individual players having individually great seasons, but as a team, we did not gel defensively. We had no identity defensively this season. At some point, the cohesiveness or lack thereof is going to take its toll.
Yeah. No, absolutely. 100%, man. and this is something that needs to be corrected. And the only way to correct it for these teams is to just start saying, no, you may not interview this person. And yes, I will increase the pay of this person to keep them here. Like,
Mark, me and you for years have been saying, why not pay the coordinator like a head coach?
yeah.
Why not
He
say
doesn't count against the cap. If you have the money, do it.
no? And guess what? In now, mind you, don't do what the Raiders did. Don't pull somebody out of retirement and
Right.
then give them a 10-year, $10 million deal.
Right.
Right? Don't do what they did for John Gruden. But for Robert Saleh for the Niners, and I think you would agree, Mark. Yes, I thought he was head coach material as a fan. Yes, I thought that there's no reason why we should let him walk out the building. I don't think anybody would have had a problem if we, as the Niners, said, you know what, let's pay him 10 million.
Right.
That might be excessive for a head coach for an offensive coordinator or a defensive coordinator, but that's what you do if you're trying to win a Super Bowl. Look, I know you want to be a head coach and I know you want to have your opportunity. Let's go get this chip first. We didn't get the job done this last time. Let's go get the chip first. I'll make it worth your while by paying you like a head coach. And once we win the chip, I will more than gladly let you walk.
Right.
It's very simple. I feel like these are things that the coordinators would absolutely go for. If you take me from $2 million a year to $10 million a year, I'll take that. So yeah, these owners have to start ponying up the money. These GMs have to start going to the owners and telling them, look, we got to pay this dude. The same way we look at a player and say he's too invaluable, we have to pay him. Yeah, we don't think this quarterback is worth 70 million a year. But guess what? That's what the market dictates. The market dictates that we should keep this defensive coordinator because this is our key to winning a Super Bowl.
Right.
Simple, man. I need to see more of that going on in the future.
Very much so. And with that being said, guys, that is the end of the show that we are willing to give you tonight. We thank you for sticking around with us, watching us fumble through our
Mhm.
New Year's episode uh, on the 7th. But yeah, man, we'll be back next Tuesday at 8 p.m. as always, and we will see how this week shakes out from the playoffs and who will continue down their Super Bowl journey. Hopefully, the Eagles is one of those teams. But yeah, man, we I don't really have much else to say, but I do promise that next week will be a lit episode. It's time to start getting into the basketball side of things. All Star Weekend is around the corner.
Basketball's a crazy place right now.
Yeah, basketball is all over the place, man. Like I honestly like this is probably the first season where I would say I don't have a favorite to win it all.
Everybody's bugging, man. I can tell you who my favorite is. It's still Boston, but
But
I hate the way they play basketball. I
yeah,
absolutely
it's trash.
despise the way they play basketball.
It's trash.
We
But
not we shooting 60 to 80 fucking 3 pointers a game. That's disgusting.
and miss and making 30% of them is wild.
I can't like the Boston. So to be very clear, I'm gonna leave this one last thought before because when we get into basketball, we can talk about it. They are absolutely 1,000% the biggest part of the problem right now with the NBA because what they're doing is working. And now everybody's going to follow suit. Well, they have this season. Everybody has followed suit this season.
Well, yeah. Well,
Yeah.
like I said, guys, that's the end of this episode. We appreciate you for watching. And remember, like always, it's only entertainment. So when making your sports bets out there, remember that these sports things are called sports entertainment, not regular sports. So there's always a entertainment or factor to it. They can fix it one way or the other. You do with that what you will when you're making your bets, and bet responsibly.
Yeah, if it ain't got no competition committee, be careful out there.
All righty.
Yeah.
Peace.
Peace.